Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie reviews. Today we'll be breaking down Death on the Nile. Just got back from watching it. You guys know the drill. Getting shot. This is also a 40 subscriber special. I was at 42 subscribers on YouTube yesterday, now I'm at 40. So the growth has been spectacular. So I figure this will be a 40 subscriber special. But break down the plot best I can. Any major themes in similar movies, maybe if I can remember the name of one of them that's kind of similar. But it's a mystery crime, just your typical, super smart, observant detective and murder plot, discovering a murder plot. Pretty standard, but I enjoyed it. I'll give it my overall grade at the end. Opening scenes, he said he's a Belgian detective. But they certainly speak in French in the beginning, unless Belgian is so phonetically close to French that I couldn't tell the difference. Don't know Belgium, what they speak there. Belgian, probably. But certainly sounded like they were speaking French to me. But I don't know if it's Hercule or Hercule Poirot as the lead detective. And before he's a detective, you get an opening scene with black and white. He is a soldier in an army. And they're about to go, attack the enemy, and the captain, Capitan, is like, we're going to expect heavy casualties, and we're just gonna run through no man's land and get there. Poirot has the great Poirot, excuse me. Well, there's a little syllability flipping back and forth, but he's like, no, we're gonna put up poisonous gas, put on our gas mask, and then the enemy won't be able to see us. So they do that. They're successful. He saves his entire battalion or company except for the captain. The captain ends up stepping on a tripwire right after they do the thing. So you have a 3-minute opening scene. From that explosion, when the captain gets blown up, Poirot gets this very bad injury to the side of his face. He's laying there in a hospital bed. You can't see it yet. His wife or love interest Catherine comes to see him, and he's like, "You'll never want to love me after this," and then rolls his head over, and it's a big gashing wound, exposing the bones, exposing the teeth, gashing wound on the side of his face. And she's like, "Oh, you're just going to grow a mustache." So he grows the mustache. So that takes place, I guess, setting that again, that was Belgium in like 1914, and then that's the end of that. And then you get next scene is 20 years later. He's a detective, getting clearly aged, like probably mid-50s, early 60s type of age, and he is at a club in London. And in London, then you get introduced to Lynette Ridgewater. I think it's Ridgewater. It said Ridge and then ... on Google, so I'm not sure exactly the last name. But whoever's Lynette, played by Gal Gadot, who is this. I don't know exactly sure how she made her wealth. I think like her dad had some sort of company that wasn't super on the up and up, and then she took over the company or just had aggressive business practice or something. But she's extremely, extremely wealthy. And so you get introduced to Lynette and Jacqueline. I don't even know if she has a last name, but they call her Jackie in the movie, and Simon Doyle. Basically, Simon Doyle and Jacqueline are dancing, very risque. Jacqueline tells Lynette how much sex they have, and then's like, Lynette's so rich that, Simon needs work, so Lynette and Jacqueline are friends, and she was like, can Simon be your whatever for her company? And Lynette agrees, and then Simon and Lynette have a dance together after Jacqueline and Simon were grinding pretty aggressively. And at the same time, Poirot is watching this whole thing. He's in the London club, the live music. You also get introduced to the singers, the Rosalie Otterbond, and she's like the manager, and Salome Otterbond, who is her mother, is the singer. And so they're playing live music at this club, and that's who they're dancing to. And so you kind of meet all of these characters pretty briefly. Salome, and Rosalia won't play the music until they get paid up front. And that's basically this only scene in London. Next scene you get is basically a wedding reception for Mr. and Mrs. Doyle. And so you see Simon Doyle come out, and then he's with Lynette Ridgewater. So after the dancing, again, Jacqueline and Simon were madly in love. He dances with Lynette one time. The next scene, they're getting married. And so, Lynette's really rich. They're either in Egypt or Giza at this point. I think they're in Egypt at this point, and that's the setting for the rest of the movie. So you also, at this point, you get introduced to, I think it's Euphemia, Mrs. Bowers, and Marie. And one of them, I'm not exactly sure who's who, again, looking at the cast, but one of them is Book's mother. Well, I guess, no, okay, so before the wedding scene, you just have Book, who's a new character. His mother is one of these three, and he is on one of the towers of Giza flying a kite. And Poirot is watching him. You'll find out later why that occurred, but he sees him up on the some dude flying a kite on the pyramid. It's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Goes up and realizes it's his friend. Book is substantially younger. Again, Poirot is like 60. Book is probably 35. But they're friends. Not exactly sure if it was said like how or why they became friends, but they're certainly friends throughout the movie, and they've known each other before. So Book's like, yeah, me and my mom are going to this wedding party, and you should come along. So he ends up doing so, and then that's the scene with the newlyweds. So after the newlyweds come out, you see Jacqueline. She is the angry, unrequited lover of Simon Doyle. Simon and Lynette are extremely happy with one another, and Jacqueline has been following them around, like literally just showing up, and they say just standing and staring at them. So basically, Simon and Lynette go to Poirot, who's now this world-famous, super big name detective, and is like, can you do anything to get Jacqueline away from, stalking us, basically. And he approaches Jacqueline, Poirot does, and Jacqueline shows him a little .22, like they say in the movie, it's almost like a toy, but just like a little like 4-shooter .22 gun. And basically Poirot is just like, Jacqueline, you should just let them be, go home, they're happy together, whatever. And so from there, Lynette and Simon are really, really on the edge about going on their honeymoon after their wedding, and rather just going back to their estate to remain safe from Jacqueline. Because she basically more or less doesn't threaten them, but is like, if I can't have him, nobody can. Unrequited love can get fixed with a bullet. So Poirot is telling the newlyweds, maybe they should just, he tells Jacqueline to go home, but maybe they should just go back to stay safe. They go back and forth a little bit, and they decide to go on their honeymoon anyway. So the honeymoon is, they take a little ferry boat to the cataract. Maybe not cataract. There's some, not cataracts your eyes, but there's a name for the boat. And they take a little boat to the bigger boat, and they get on there, and then they have the boat private, I guess, for a day or two before other people can get on the boat. And so they're going down the Nile River, obviously in Egypt, and then they go to basically just a pyramid of, which one was it? Whoever was Cleopatra's husband, one of the Egyptian tombs. So they go in there. There's a scene where you meet the lawyer, Andrew Cat something. Again, I don't the name cut off on Google, but he's the lawyer for Lynette Ridgewater's estate and business practices. They go to the pyramid, or not a pyramid, but just again burial place. But it's not actually a pyramid, but it's got like the big Sphinx statues and stuff. And so at this point in time, you learn that Book is kind of secretly in love with Rosalia Otterbahn, the singer, or the manager of the singer, and his mother's not approving. Book wants his mother's blessing, but he can't make enough money, and his mother does not approve. So that when they were going initially into the burial site, the mother basically says she knows that he's in love with her, and you're not going to get my blessing. But they're kind of happy because now that Book and Rosalia don't have to hide that they're in love with each other anymore. So they're all kind of exploring the caves or the caverns or the burial site, and Simon and Lynette go up on like top of the big carving statues, and they're about to bang one out on top of the pyramids when a big rock falls down. And so they look up, see someone had pushed a rock over. At this point, it's not exactly clear that it was intentional, but shortly after you find out it was. So there's a scare, and then they go back inside. A big sandstorm hits, and they're all waiting inside till the sandstorm gets over. Once the sandstorm's over, they get back on the boat. And at this point, the other people can check on whoever has the boat's not private anymore. And then so Jacqueline is now on the boat, and immediately Lynette is like, it was Jacqueline who pushed the rock, but they were like, whoever was still back at the boat was like, no, Jacqueline just got here. There's no chance it was her. And so Lynette, even before this, Lynette requests Poirot to watch over, just like be on their side, because she doesn't feel safe around any of these people. So they get back on the boat, and they're basically just having it out. It's like Simon, Rosalia, Book, Jacqueline, and Lynette are all kind of in one of the main cabins, and Simon and Lynette are like, yeah, we've already made love 2 or 3 times today. Jacqueline's all viscerally upset about that, and they're getting mad at each other. And then Simon eggs her on very substantially. Jacqueline pulls out her gun and shoots Simon in the leg. So Simon gets shot in the leg. Everyone calms down. Everyone goes to bed. And then they wake up. And the first thing you see is now Lynette Bridgewater, Gal Gadot, is dead. She's been shot in the head. So there's big uproar. Everyone's like, oh no, who killed her? Who killed her? And so now Poirot, he starts his detective work, typically your typical detective grilling everybody, assuming they're the murderer, seeing how they respond. This is the super Sherlock Holmes of the day. So there's a bunch of scenes back here about him grilling different people. You meet Ludwig, who's played by Russell Brand, who actually I enjoyed this movie. I'll give you my overall grade. Can't stand Russell Brand on YouTube, holy fucking hell. But I thought he was alright in this movie. But he grills the doctor, and you learn Ludwig, Russell Brand, is like a lord, and he's secretly in love with Lynette. He grills all of them, but Salome's got a 22 in her hat. The Andrew, whoever the lawyer is, Indian-looking guy, brown-looking guy, who's the lawyer for Lynette. He's like, why would I shoot her? Pulls out a .45. He's like, I'm armed. I'm the security for her as well. So it's like, if I was going to kill her, I'd be using this gun. So he's kind of off the hook. He grills Euphemia, Mrs. Bowers, and Marie. It's not exactly sure what went on there. Again, they're like one's the godmother of Lynette, and the other one's either her lover, her wife, or just like another assistant or something. One of them really likes the wealth. I think one of them used to be wealthy, but they lost their wealth somehow, and one of them, I guess, despises the wealth or something. He interrogates Louise Bourget, who's like a little French chick, who's the main manager for Lynette, or assistant for Lynette. Any other interesting things you learned there? Again, he's just going around grilling everybody about what they know, what they don't know. And then so, not too much longer after that, and even before this starts happening, on the night of the murder, Poirot drinks one glass of champagne encouraged to him by Simon, and gets very, very, at this point he gets very drunk or not conscious, or he's got to go pass out, go to sleep. And so shortly after that, Louise Bourget, she is killed, her throat is cut, and you just see her body like going under the ship. So they pull her up onto the ship, and they're also going back to, sweep the floor of the river for the gun or for any other evidence they can find on the riverbed floor. And so Louise Bourget is killed, and they're all again trying to figure out who the murderer is. And then, like one of the last interviews, Poirot has is with Book, again his friend, and he's grilling him. At the same time, the Lynette has this $2 million necklace, and Poirot grills Book and realizes that he stole the necklace, basically so he would have enough money so he doesn't need his mother's blessing, so he can go run away with Rosalio. So Book pretty much he's admitted to stealing the necklace that had gone missing, and he was like, if I told you, and I think when he saw this, he saw, or Louis Bourget saw who killed Lynette, and I think Book either somehow knew something else where he was now going to be a target. So during that interview, somewhere on the ship, basically a hooded person that you can't see puts a gun through the guardrail and shoots Book through the neck dead. So you have Lynette dead, she's X'd, Book is dead, and Louise is dead. And so now you're getting kind of towards the ending scenes. The Poirot is, like, I let down my friend, but then he really puts together all the pieces. Turns out what happened was, minus the necklace being stolen, Simon and Jacqueline never stopped being lovers, and it was all basically a plan to get Lynette's money and run away with her money. And so what happened was when Simon was shot, he had stolen some paint from Book's mother, was a good painter, so he stole some red paint. The Jacqueline, she had shot Book Simon with a blank round. Simon pretended to have blood with the paint. He goes back to the room, at which point he actually shoots himself in the leg so that he has an alibi, or so it's legitimate. And then I think that's Louise had seen Simon do that or do something, so that's why he basically has Jacqueline cut her throat. So that's who killed Louise. And then when Poirot and Book, when Poirot was interrogating Book, Simon was also along with him. Simon had given a hit, like go, to stick the gun through the hooded person was Jacqueline. So basically they were just plotting, Bonnie and Clyde scheming couple for Lynette's money, and they were never stopped being lovers. And so there was another thing with a scarf. I forget exactly what the scarf was, but that's basically like the major plot and the deaths. And so Simon and Jacqueline, Poirot has his gun out, pointed at him. Salome Otterbon again had the .22 under her turban hat. She's got the gun pointed at him, and they're like, "Oh, we can leave right now." And Jacqueline puts the gun. They hug it out. Puts the gun to Simon's back, pulls the trigger, and kills both of them. So kind of like a Romeo and Juliet type of deal. So that's kind of what happens there. Then you have just a couple final scenes of them leaving the boat. They're all flustered about what has occurred. And then one final scene of Poirot has romantic interest in Salome Otterbon, but at some point in this time you also figure out what happened to Catherine, his wife, who was in the beginning, or lover at the very beginning scenes. She would come back. He was injured in some barracks, and on her way back during a train, a mortar shell blew her up and killed her. So Poirot was again this hardline detective who could never be taken by love again. But then the very final scene is and this whole time he's got a mustache from his scarring gash wound. His mustache is shaved off, and he's listening to Salome sing. So I'm assuming he's getting his hat back in the ring to find some love. So again, your typical really smart detective. That's pretty much the only major theme. Do I think there could be people that are extremely observant? I think anybody's observant if they try. So this overarch, like the big character of this extremely rare best detective ever. I disagree with that entirely. I think it's an interesting plot. It's a good character for a movie. Again, entertainment value. I even give this one an A-. So nothing super unique, but I did enjoy it enough to bump it up to an A. And again, the detective genre. It's also because it's entertainment value. Like I said, as long as you put some thought into the plot about who killed who and who did what, it's going to keep me entertained. So I tend to rank these ones higher. Again, like it's not like my favorite genre or anything, but it's more novel than again seeing superheroes talk about the multiverse like the 10 millionth time. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, that's the plot as best as I can remember it. Similar movies. There's another like a sleuth detective movie that I'd watched with some other person with a heavy accent. Can't even remember the name. So no similar movies for today. But again, saw some low ranks on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, I don't even know what those people like or don't like. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. A- is my overall ranking. So I hope you go check out Death on the Nile. Thanks for watching.